My name is Shawnessey, Cargile, and probably when I walked up here, if you're just judging me by how I looked, this is the title you would expect. But this is amen. Really? Amen. Okay. This is a true story, though, how hip-hop saved my life. More in particular, it saved my parents' life, our family's life, more particularly one hip-hop artist in particular. I grew up with my two sisters, that's me in the black shirt, in Gadsden, Alabama for a number of years. Great experience there, I think. We were little. I mean, who knew? Other than beatings from our parents, we really had just a wonderful childhood. And for some reason, when I was little, there were a couple of all right, round of applause for those. Belle Biv DeVoe boys and LL Cool J Bad, for whatever reason, resonated with these two things. In no way did they depict anything I was going through in life or anything that my friends were going through, but for some reason I gravitated to it. I think because my parents were very into Motown, and we would listen to that. LL Cool J, for whatever reason, was someone that I really enjoyed listening to, except it was very explicit at the time. Couldn't listen to that inside the house, so you kind of had to hide this little obsession with hip-hop music and with LL because my parents just wouldn't understand. They wouldn't get it. At one point, we moved from Alabama to Georgia. I don't think we as kids knew why. We didn't sit down with the family and say, here's why we're moving, here's what's happening, it's a better school or a better job. I just know we moved, we left all of our friends, no family in Georgia, but for some reason we had to move. Part of the benefit to this was that for the first time, I was allowed to start the car in the morning before school. One of the first things I remember when we moved to Calhoun, Georgia, we lived in a house that was right on a busy area of town. There's cars constantly going in front of our house, and my mom would let me go out and start the car. So one day I went out to do that. Went out, start the car. Exciting for many reasons, because not only would I go out and start the car, which basically felt like you were driving, you were old, granted, the whole time was just in the driveway, but it felt like something was happening that probably shouldn't happen. The other thing that probably shouldn't happen that I was able to do with all this freedom was that I could take my tape, my explicit content tape, and put it in the tape deck and listen as loud as I wanted to. And so I did this, turned up the music as loud as I could, enjoying it. So much freedom. Felt so alive at the moment, knowing my mom was tucked inside with my sister getting ready for school. And then that all changed. Whee! A loud alarm went off. This had never happened in our car, and I thought, this is what my parents told me would happen. I mean, they said, don't listen to this. And now I've listened to this. This is a hip-hop alarm. It's a parental alarm. But literally, the car made a noise. Quickly got out of the car, just kind of like, it was already in park. Just get out of the car, go back inside. Honey, did you start the car? Yeah, the car started. Okay, all right. We're still getting ready for school. I'm hoping by the time we get back out, the alarm's gone off maybe, because I know I got in trouble. I left the scene. Pretty soon, everything will be back to normal. We get ready. We go back out to the car. This is a little bit of an exaggeration, but the entire hood was in flames. I had no clue how this could have happened. I was shocked and surprised. I was terrified. I knew that I was the last one in the car. I put LL Cool J in the radio, in the stereo. An alarm went off to warn me, and now our car is in flames. LL Cool J is a car killer. Don't know how all this happened. All I know is that I carried a little bit of guilt. Now, my parents had no clue what had really happened that day. Freak accident and the car goes up in fire, but I knew what happened. For years, I knew what happened. Eventually, I realized probably in high school, I didn't actually burn down our car. LL Cool J didn't burn down our car, but it became kind of a funny story to tell people. Oh, you've got bad car trouble. Let me tell you about my luck. It started when I was 9. I was listening to hip-hop one day unsupervised, and I had something to tell people about, kind of a funny story. 3 years ago, come home for Christmas, sitting around the dinner table with my parents, and that story came up for some reason. I shared it. Oh, when I burned down the car, and we're kind of laughing. My mom, very empathetic. Oh, sweetie, you didn't burn down the car. Oh, have you thought that? No, Mom, I'm good now. It was just kind of a funny story at the time. My dad, though, he said, well, the fire was an electrical fire that started in the radio. I was like, wait, so you mean all these years that I was like joking, I burned down the car? He's like, well, no. I mean, I'm like, no, wait a minute. I really did this. Well, I didn't do it. LL Cool J and me, we actually burned down my parents' car. I can't believe this. All these years it was kind of a funny joke, a little guilt, but now somehow these things were interconnected. So I leave that weekend, go back to Pennsylvania where I was living at the time. A couple days later, I get a text message from my mom. Just kind of like, hey, the other night we were talking about what happened to the car. Well, I never told you guys before, but the night before that happened, I had packed all your belongings, you and your sister. We had some bags ready. The next day I was going to take you to school, drop you off, come back and pick you up, and then we were going to live with your grandmother because I was going to leave your father. My dad had an affair, and it hadn't reconciled. The night before, she says, God, if you don't want us to leave, if you want this family to stay together, because I'm done, I can't do it anymore, nothing's changing, you're gonna have to show me a sign. The next day, the car burns up, we have no transportation, and so we can't go to Alabama to live with my grandmother. Now, I don't know how those things all work together. And some people, well, the Lord works in mysterious. I don't know if that's exactly how it works. All I know is that our family was about to be totally disheveled. A prayer was prayed, and LL Cool J saved our family. Thank you.